Let us pray. Loving, eternal God, we are so blessed because everything we have has been given to us by you. So God, as we listen to your message today, open our hearts, open our minds, open our ears. Let your message move through us as we remember that you are indeed the tie that binds us together. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're in the 5th week of the tie that binds, and this one is about movement, about moving. So do you think I'm just going to stand here and preach behind the pulpit? Probably not. Probably means I'm going to move just a little bit. So, first of all, I was away this past week at the Bishop's Retreat for Clergy. Every year, they do it once a year. And the theme was stewardship, which I'm going to talk about a little later on. But the bishop started off with this, we started off with the worship service. And he started to preach to us, and he's an excellent preacher. And he talked about how his 2 grown boys, they're now men, used to come running up to him when they were little, and he just said, "Say yes, Daddy, just say yes." Well, the bishop being the bishop was pretty sharp. And he's just like, well, wait a minute, what's the question? You know, because he didn't want to say just yes. He didn't want to get caught in one of those little traps. You know, kids have never played one parent against the other, trying to get one to say yes, and then, you know, especially if the other one says no, don't you go to the other one and see if you can, yeah. But what he talked about was having the courage to say yes, saying yes to God when God calls us to do different things. And he was celebrating the clergy that were there and celebrating the fact that we've said yes and we try to say yes to God each and every day. So that's how we started off. But one of the things that I learned is that when we say yes, God can be very demanding at times. Not always, but God can be very demanding at times. And we're always like, I'm not quite sure if I want to do that. I'm not quite sure if I can do everything that God is asking us. But if God is asking us to do something, I believe that God is going to be with us and help us, whatever that is, in order to accomplish that. And today, I want to show you a video here in just a moment. But the theme is about movement. And in the beginning of on our website, we talked about the movement. We talked about being walking by the Spirit. And we said the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And this video I'm going to show you is about the dance. And from this series, they talk about relationships and how relationships are a dance. Because when we're connected with one another, we find rhythm with those around you. And when we are in step with the rhythm of the Spirit, the ones that I just talked about, the fruits of the Spirit, we will see that that helps the ties that bind us to each other. And it also, the answer of saying yes, when we have the courage to say yes, when we dare to dance our dance fully with others and join in their dance as well, we release joy to the world. So this video I'm going to show you is about a man who has traveled all over the world. And he still has some spots that he hasn't kind of thing. And he does a dance. Now, I don't dance, just so you know. Not the kind of physical dance. And if I were on Dancing with the Stars, I would have been eliminated the very first week because I just can't dance. But so I'm going to show you this video. It's this gentleman by the name of Mark Harding, and there may be something on the top left, but please just ignore that. So we're just going to watch this, and then I'm going to ask you some questions afterwards. that video? Huh? Everybody looks the same?
I mean, you can't tell if you wouldn't have known where they were from.
You wouldn't know where they were. Okay, so that's something
All
that
together.
it shows that we're more similar than we are different in ways. What else did you see? Everybody was happy, right? He was bringing joy. And there were a few scenes where he was by himself later on, but at the very beginning, he was pretty much by himself. And then he extended an invitation for people to join him. And what happened? He brought them joy. Even if it was just for a moment. But they were all so happy. They were dancing. They were so happy. And for me, what I saw in this too was the fact that, can you imagine if we just shared our story or extended an invitation to someone else? I wonder what kind of joy we could have provided for them. This whole thing about movement, he was willing to say yes. He had the courage to say yes. He wasn't the best dancer, was he? No. That would be kind of like me, just kind of, running and stuff like that. But everybody enjoyed. They came along, and the crowds were getting bigger in certain places too. So many more people showed up and started dancing with them. And they were all full of joy, full of laughter. And he created a message, in a sense, to them. He had the courage to go to all these different places. And this is only a short clip of some of the places that he went. He went to many more places than this. But he had the courage to say yes and try something very different and unusual. And he went out and made people happy. He brought them joy. So how do we, in our church, bring joy to others? How do we differentiate ourselves as people of faith to reach out with the gifts of the Spirit? His gift wasn't dancing, but he had another gift. He had a gift of invitation, a gift of welcoming, of hospitality. How do we, as our church, how do we go ahead and move beyond where we are within our building and beyond our doors? To be welcoming, to be inviting, to extend hospitality, to extend joy to others. That's something that I want you to think about. And as we continue to do ministry together, as we continue to pledge ourselves and have the courage to say yes to whatever God is asking us, I pray that we too will be able to open up our eyes and see our community, see where the needs are, see where God is calling us, see what God is asking us to do. The story that we heard was Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus, in the gospel reading this morning, was a blind beggar, right? And they're in Jericho. They're on the way from Jericho to Jerusalem. And when you leave Jericho, you have to go climb way high to get to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is much higher elevation. Jericho is like 1,500 feet below sea level. It's the lowest city, I think, in the world right now. And Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus in Hebrew, which also means a man of honor, he was calling out. He called Jesus the Son of David. He was reaching out to him. And earlier in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus was healing somebody. He tried to heal somebody who was also blind. And at that time, friends brought this person to Jesus. And Jesus, remember, he had to spit, he had to do and put the clay and put the mud on his eyes and everything. And it took a couple of times before he could see clearly. And then he sent him on his way. Now, after Jesus has already told the disciples several times that he's going to have to be lifted up, he's going to be crucified, be lifted up, the disciples still didn't understand it. And we also heard one of the disciples wanted to be, I think my battery's going. And you possibly, sorry. It was God's telling me to just go ahead and stop. So anyway, the previous person that Jesus had healed, I told you about that, and then how the disciples still didn't quite see what Jesus was telling them. They had like a spiritual blindness. And now we have a man who is poor, and he's trying to reach out to Jesus. He's crying out And everybody else is trying to shield Jesus from him, but Jesus calls him out. And so Bartimaeus is brought, he finally is able to come up. He drops his cloak and he approaches Jesus. And Jesus asks him, what do you want? He says, I want to be able to see. Restore my sight. And Jesus said, go, your faith has made you well. You can see. And what does Bartimaeus do? He actually not only sees, but he follows Jesus. He doesn't go away the way the previous man had and maybe went to the priest. Now Bartimaeus is a follower of Jesus, and he's going to follow Jesus. So not only did he become able to see physically, but he started to be able to see spiritually. And so he's going to follow Jesus. We have seen some terrible things in this world happen recently. You saw what happened in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. We've seen some other horrific things with the males, all those things. And so how do we hold on to our faith when we see these things happening in our world? And yet it's because of our faith. It's because of our love for God and God's love for us that we can help others experience that love. And maybe if they can experience that love, some of these other things will go away. I pray that all of us have the courage to say yes, whatever God is calling us to do. Whatever we have been called as people in the Rotterdam United Methodist Church, as followers of Jesus, as Christian brothers and sisters, I pray that whatever God calls us to do, we will say, yes! Come on, let's hear it again.
Yes!